We will call to order the regular meeting of the Madison Local Board of Education for May 30th, 2017. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Larry Armstrong.
Here.
Jacqueline Asbill. Sean Douglas.
Here.
Michael Howry.
Here.
Michelle Hayes.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move. Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Larry Armstrong.
Yes.
Sean Douglas.
Yes.
Michael Howry.
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll move. I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Sean Douglas.
Yes.
Michael Howry.
Yes.
Larry Armstrong.
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
Board member reports?
Been a while since we've been here. I guess the biggest news is the passage of the levy. That's outstanding job by everyone, administration, the levy committee, everybody that worked on it, and I'd just like to thank our community for approving it. And you know, as a community, we're all going to be paying higher taxes, but we have to do our best to make sure that that money's spent wisely. Graduation was a big hit. 2 hours in and out, smooth as could be. So that's always a great event. That's the best part of our job, I think.
Sure is.
And lastly, I went and saw the girls varsity softball team play in Akron. It was a tough game against a very tough team, and we stayed strong. 5-2, and it could have easily gone the other way, but it was fun to go down there and watch them play at that level. And
Yeah.
only losing one senior, we might be back there next year. So
That's my understanding. And
it was a great game. Rainy weather, but long day, and you know, they played tough.
I was at pre-K graduation, so I couldn't be in both places. But I kept looking at the Twitter feed to see what I could find out.
I'd like to thank Joe, maybe the unsung hero, but just always the good sound and the good media we get at the graduation. Thank you very much. It's my first end of the year as a board member, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Everything seemed to go really well, and likewise, I was at the pre-K graduation. That was fun. The senior awards banquet and the middle school band concert. It's just a great time to end the year, and everybody's happy and good performances, and it was very nice to be a part of Madison Public Schools.
I too would like to thank the community for passage of the levy. Looking forward to being able to continue to offer a very good education here at Madison High School and Madison schools in general. But also attending graduation was very nice this year. Students were very well behaved, which is always a plus, you know, for the event. Lots of fun and lots of happy students. So it was very nice. All right, so we'll now have the first public participation on the agenda here. This is for agenda items only, so if anyone would like to comment on any of the agenda items, now would be the time. If you'd like to, it'd be good to stand and state your name and address for the record. All right, seeing none. Reports and recommendations of the treasurer.
Thank you. I have just a couple of things to talk about before discussing the 5-year forecast and the other items on the agenda. On Friday, April 21st, the district received an award from the Lake County Safety Council for reducing our accident rate by more than 25%. In a public entity, we are rated based on our experience or number of claims against workers' comp. So being able to reduce it by 25% from the previous year will help our rate. And then hopefully if we continue that reduction year after year, we'll get back into a group rating program where it'll save us even more on our premiums. Right now we're looking at 2 different programs. One is a group rating program and the other is a retrospective. And one will save us about, I think it's in the mid 30% range. So another good year, we can get into a group rating and have that get up over 40%. Also on May 9th, Michelle Marakovich, who's the Newberry School Superintendent, Bob Cerruti, our tech director, and I presented at the Brainstorm Educational Technology Conference. Our topic was using shared services to stretch technology dollars, which we had done at the eTech in February, and we were also chosen to present the same topic at the Ohio School Board Association Capital Conference in November. And I had to print out what they presented on, but the other members of the tech team presented also. Tony Slepko and Ashley Medwig presented on successful one-to-one deployments from wireless network to device management, basically talking about the wireless network that they put in at the two schools and the deployment of the devices across those networks. And then Andrew Grybos, the other member of the team, presented on large and small Windows deployment using an open source imaging solution. He did a good job, but I didn't understand anything he was talking about. But they all did good jobs. And, we had as many people at our sessions. We were back to back to back on Tuesday morning as any of the other sessions that were presented at the same time. So we actually had a couple stay for all three, and we told them in the future, just give us the $495 and we'll come on out to the school district and present. So it was nice that we were able to do that. It's nice to get the tech team out there and have them practice. They were all nervous, as most people are public speaking, but they did a great job.
How different a response was it from the eTech?
Well, from eTech, we didn't get too much of a response. We actually had a bigger crowd at this brainstorm. And we had an extended conversation with somebody who works at one of the ESCs in Central Ohio, and how we go about putting this technology sharing agreement together. And he kind of does that, but he's under the old method of you get a person for a day instead of buying the service like we offer here, buy into all the tech team. You might get them 3 days during the week, you might not get them at all, it depends on the needs. And we just try to convince them that get your member districts to buy into that solution and everybody will get better service. If you only have a tech guy there that you're sharing on Tuesday, something breaks on Wednesday, it's still broken until the next Tuesday. Under our method, we're able to deploy somebody out to fix it. So it was interesting. We'll see what kind of feedback we get in November from that presentation.
Very good.
So I do have a few items on the agenda, but I want to talk about the 5-year forecast, which is up for approval tonight. And I had sent the board the forecast a couple, 3 weeks ago, but I do want to talk about what changes we made. First and foremost, we got to update it for the first levy passage in 28 years. And in all of my 6 years here, and probably most of the time at the former district, the 5th year the forecast was not positive. It was always a negative balance. And I was talking to Mr. Howard before the meeting, and I got to smile. We have, at least based on this forecast, $54,000 at the end of 2021. Not a lot of money, but it's a positive balance. And and that includes the adjustments that we promised during the levy. So the adjustments I've made from October to May, it's required to be approved and submitted to ODE by the end of October, and a revision by the end of May. So I've taken the October and revised it for the items that I'll discuss. First, I've increased the real estate tax revenue in 2017 to reflect the current numbers. We actually had a small reclassification from the prior year, and then we got a little more in than anticipated, about 70,000, but based on 8.4 million, that's still a pretty good percentage. And then 2018, 19, 20, and 21 have been increased for the revenue from the new levy. Half a year of collections in 2018, full year of collections in 19, 20, and 21. Even though you see the revenue going down from 19 to 20 and then down again in 21. That has to do with the other emergency levy expiring, and that revenue is shown on the second page in line 11.020. It's kind of a strange way to have to present it, but the state won't allow us to do certain things based on the assumption of a renewal levy passing. The investments I kicked up a little bit to reflect the higher cash balances that we're expecting and the rising interest rates. Interest rates have remained stagnant since about 2008. They're finally starting to tick up a little over 1%, so we're anticipating a little more interest income. I've also increased the open enrollment revenue to reflect about what we're receiving now. We got a pretty good influx in from Ledgemont a couple years ago, and that's continued, so we're fairly comfortable in increasing that. And then other income, I affected one up, one down. Medicaid reimbursement seems to be ticking up a little higher than we anticipated. The company that we have filing for Medicaid reimbursement, real quick, if we have a special needs youngster getting special services and they also qualify for Medicaid, we can have Medicaid reimburse the district for a part of that service. And our guys are just getting better at filing, our staff is getting better at reporting, and the better we get, the more money we make. That being said, there's always a chance that in the president's budget that Medicaid could be reduced. If that happens, we may see an effect on that line item. And I did decrease one item down, and that is the reimbursement from the catastrophic costs. As we get better spending and being more efficient with special ed money, that drives our cost down, therefore it drives the amount down that we can expect for reimbursement. So I think we'll be down a little bit. Hopefully we'll be right at where I projected this year, but I can't see that number continuing. On the expense side, we've increased the salaries and benefits for the 2 new teachers and the 2 new custodians. So that was an increase, but I also decreased the benefits going into next year to 3% because that's what the Health Insurance Consortium is going to pass on. And I've reduced the future years to 9% because I think that's going to be closer to where we are. It was at 10. I'm ratcheted down 1%. Not a big deal, but it's a big deal when you're really conservative. So moving it down to 9% I think is a little better movement. Do want to point out that there are no changes in this forecast for any changes in state funding. If and when we know what the budget is, the next forecast with the first year being fiscal year 2018 where those effects will take place will be presented to the board in September, and we will have a plan depending on the impact on this district. Are there any questions on that?
When were you showing this to the state?
I've actually already submitted because it's due tomorrow.
Okay.
But if for some reason the board didn't approve it tonight, I go in tonight and put the old October one in as the last approved one. But they were really strange on people putting them on the last day this year. They've been sending us emails reminding us, and I didn't want to be on the list not having it properly submitted. So if there's no further questions, I'm looking to get approval for the financial reports for all funds, the fund-to-fund transfer report, and the check payment register for April 2017, and approval of the 5-year forecast with fiscal year 2017 to 2021, the May update, as presented and found on file in the Treasurer's office.
I'll move.
A second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Michael Howry,
Yes.
Larry Armstrong,
Yes.
Sean Douglas,
Yes.
vote is 3-0. The next is our property, fleet, and liability insurance. We go out every year for quotes. This year we had 3 different companies quote. Wright Specialties through Love Insurance Agency, SORSA, which is Schools of Ohio Risk Sharing Authority, through the Strassman Insurance Agency, which is our current carrier and plan, and Argonaut Insurance through the A.J. Gallagher Risk Management Services. All 3 were really close, less than $1,000 between the top and the bottom, and I'm recommending that we go with SORSA again this year. While it's $500 higher than the lowest, because we've been with SORSA for so many years without claims or big claims, they've knocked our deductible down from $2,500 to $0. So the very first claim we would have under one of the other insurances, we'd be paying more out of pocket. We've had really good experience with Strassman Insurance Agency. They've been the insurance company here since I've been on board. I actually dealt with them at Riverside. Anything we need from them, we are able to get. And the biggest thing that we get from them is we are able to retain the board's attorney on insurance matters. So that doesn't always happen. Usually the insurance company assigns somebody to you, but we've been able to convince them that it's more efficient for them and in the long run cheaper for them if they keep Britton Smith, Peters and Khalil, Britton's not there anymore, Smith, Peters and Khalil as the insurance agents that represent us under insurance, attorneys that represent us under the insurance agency. And Angela, that's a big deal for her, it's a big deal for me, so that's worth the little extra that we're paying. Any questions?
Is there any conflict with that one agency, Strassman, giving us the no deductible versus the others quoting us with a deductible?
No, they have the opportunity to better the specs that we send out. I send out, here's the specs that I want. If they beat it, we'll take that into consideration.
Okay.
Or if they propose something different, I'll evaluate that too. One of them actually proposed a different level and a different way to look at the liability insurance. It would have been cheaper, but we set our limits because we're a school district and we need to protect ourselves, and probably more than you would think. $15 million is a pretty high limit, but one accident is going to eat that up, and their limit was $10 million. While it seems like a lot, it still wasn't what we requested. But if any of the other agents walked in and said, hey, we're going to give you a $0 deductible, even though you asked for $2,500, because that's industry standard, we would take that into consideration. So I'm looking for approval of one-year agreement with Schools of Ohio Risk Sharing Authority through its agent Strassman Insurance Agency for property, fleet, and liability insurance for the period July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018 at a cost of $101,846.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
What was the price last year?
103. It's $1,600 lower than last year, so $103,000.
Great. Not often things go up.
Yeah, and that's last year's was almost $15,000 less than the year before. So we've had good claims. We've put things in place that help our insurance risk, and it's paying off.
Roll call?
Larry Armstrong?
Yes.
Sean Douglas?
Yes.
Michael Howery?
Yes.
Vote is 3-0. And finally, looking for approval of a generous donation of snacks from Peggy Watts to the Madison High School Key Club to be used for Key Club activities. Generous donation of snacks and water from Dana Meskenpush to the Madison High School Key Club to be used for Key Club activities. And a generous donation of snacks from Lillian Huperts to the Madison High School Key Club to be used for Key Club activities.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Thank you for all the donations. It's always nice
Absolutely.
for the support from the community.
Thank you. Roll call?
Sean Douglas?
Yes.
Michael Howery?
Yes.
Larry Armstrong?
Yes.
Vote is 3-0. And that's all I have in my section.
Thank you. Madison Public Library. So this part of the agenda is for a presentation to the board for the fiscal year 2018 tax budget for the Madison Public Library. Shauna.
Sure. Hi, Shauna Carringer, Madison Public Library. And I've submitted the tax budget to the board for you to review. As you can probably notice, we are anticipating a possible decrease in funding from the states, like many entities. So I've reflected that in this budget. So that's what you're looking at in this. Other things to mention, we have summer reading going on, so I will promote that. That's for children and adults, so if you read to your kids or you like reading, and come on in and look at the great prizes we have. That's about it.
So the tax budget is requirement, and it's basically a projection of what you anticipate.
Right.
What your revenues to be.
2018.
All right. Any questions? Is there a motion to approve the tax budget?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Michael Howery,
Yes.
Larry Armstrong.
Yes.
Sean Douglas.
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
Reports of the administrative team.
Okay, so I have all sorts of things because we haven't been together. I too would like to thank the community for the support during our levy campaign. It is a true honor to serve in this community, and that we were able to make history for the first time in 28 years is no small, nothing to take for granted, and we want to continue to be good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars and do what's right for our students. So thank you to the community. That is huge. As part of that, we said a couple things that we were going to do during this campaign was to hire some teachers. So we have 2 new science teachers. One is replacing a retirement, and one is as a result of us passing the levy on May 2nd. We have Tim Pyra, and he comes to us from Lake Catholic, and Tim is here in the audience tonight. So I told them I would introduce them, and if they didn't want to stay for our big long agenda, they were free to go after we were done here. But he's going to help us bring some ecology units in addition to the physical and chemical sciences to the high school. So we're really excited. He has all these neat ideas and things that he's done at Lake Catholic, and he's good at finding funding for things too. So that is a nice addition to the staff. So.
Tim, where'd you go to high school?
I actually went through Madison.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's true. Madison grad. You've been more intimately involved. I'm
Did
looking at the
that
big
sound like a
picture.
setup? Do you think?
Yeah.
Could have been.
So, but we're very excited to have him on board. And then our other science teacher is Jennifer Offmuth, and she comes to us. She actually spent some time in research in chemistry and decided that she was more of a people person than just sitting in a lab doing, tasks that didn't have much interaction. So she went back to get her teaching degree and spent the year in Mentor, teaching math actually, right? But is excited to join us as a chemistry teacher, physical science teacher at the high school. So welcome, Jennifer.
Welcome.
And then we have our new emotional disturbance unit at the middle school. And those units are created based on the needs of the children that we have and with students with disabilities. And to have the right person in this job is huge. And I have to commend the team. They interviewed, before they brought me the top 4 candidates, they interviewed, 10 or 12 people? They went through 10 or 12 people, brought me the top 4, and Catherine Civila Bowman rose to the top. She comes highly recommended from Cardinal. Unfortunately for Cardinal, they had to do some reductions this year, and they were trying to figure out all sorts of ways to keep her, but again, the right person in that job is everything to the success of those units, so welcome aboard. And then the last person really isn't new, but she's coming to us because she's part of that pre-K literacy grant, is Jovette. So I had Jovette come to the meeting tonight since she's going to become a Madison employee from the ESC. So she will continue in her very important role as pre-K director and is willing to take on the challenges of the literacy grant that we're doing across the street. And so her funding is mostly through that grant and what we do with pre-K. So, but we're very, very lucky to be able to have her with us full-time each and every day. And we get all sorts of other value added from Jovette. She is our ETPS guru, which is what we have to put all the teacher evaluations in, and she helps with that. She helps with linkage. So she's jack of all trades on some of those websites that we have to use to do some of our reporting. So welcome, Jovette. I didn't leave anybody out, did I?
You know, I went back and read the board surveys of how our public ranked and rated things, and certainly no surprise that quality, high caliber teachers is, as it should be, is right up there. So it's nice to hear from you, people coming recommended. And,
well, and what's really nice is that we have had a good pool of candidates too. With science, you're always, especially because we were looking for chemistry and physics. Now, Tim loves biology too, but he has chemistry and physics. But, so, you know, you've got all these people that love the biology and chemistry and physics, because it's a little bit harder. I mean, I can tell, just don't show Matt, but, you know, originally he was going to do something, I think, in the biology field, but he couldn't get past chemistry at Hiram, and it was like, we'll go into business and we'll do something else, and pursued environmental studies. So it's to have people that like chemistry and like teaching chemistry and some of those advanced sciences is an advantage to us, and because those are where the jobs are going to be. That's where, you know, the science, technology, engineering type field is where those jobs are going to be. So we're very fortunate that we were able to find some really quality candidates, and this is some of the earliest time we've been able to hire. You know, Dave's done a phenomenal job getting that process moving.
Good.
So that's my first of several reports. I do want to talk about the testimony that we gave in front of the Senate Subcommittee for Finance and Elementary and Secondary Education. You know, Mike talked about the 5-year forecast and our positive balance. Well, we know we're in a budget year, and this is the biennium budget, and every 2 years they decide that they're going to try and figure out how to fix the formula, but they don't ever really start from scratch. They just tweak what they already have, and it's not necessarily right. And so in the governor's initial budget, we've talked about the $644,000 that he wanted to reduce us to right size because of declining enrollment. The House decided that that was going to be okay, even though they added $90 million to the budget, but most of the school districts in Northeast Ohio received significant cuts. And that came through on May 2nd, the same night we're celebrating our, you know, levy passing. We find out that the House decided to hold that, what was in the governor's budget. So because this is a long process, as I said back in February, we are now at the point where it's at the Senate. The Senate is going to make amendments to the bill, and they're going to vote that out, which then will go to conference committee. So we needed to get in front of that committee, and myself, Mike, and Chris Dodd, the union president, went down to testify. Chris ended up having to go back down last week because they, for some reason, didn't get his testimony uploaded into the system, but we felt it was important enough that his message be heard that he went and he testified. Our testimony was well received by the people on the committee. They asked Mike some questions, and they actually applauded us for what we've been able to do over the last, 5-6 years with us making reductions and then getting our levy passed. And they said, well, you're the poster child for what all school districts should be doing. Well, we love cutting. Yeah, that's what we were supposed to do. But it did get a positive response from somebody that's not necessarily a supporter of school funding schools. So on Friday, Senator Eklund came and met with us in my office, and he was very receptive to the idea that we presented in our testimony, which was to hold harmless and just fund at the 2017 level the districts. and use this next 2 years to really look at the formula and how to fix it. So there's all sorts of movement going on this week, and I'm cautiously optimistic that something will stick. Will we be held totally harmless? I wouldn't, I wouldn't bet my first or last born on that. But I think it's going to be better. We're going to be better off than the $600,000. So, because no treasurer, as I've had many conversations now with people in various places, no treasurer is going to project an increase from the state. That would be political suicide. No treasurer is really going to project a 5% decrease from the state. Right, Mike?
Right.
So that too would be political suicide. So most people project 0, which is what you did, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where, we're at, but we really do need to continue to advocate, and as we get these emails, you all get them from OSBA, we need to continue to advocate for our district and let our representatives know that this is, what we need. But I was very encouraged by Senator Eklund on Friday, because having enough meetings with various politicians over the years, they're not going to say something unless they really think they can accomplish it. Because it's good, they're not going to come back and have you say, well, you said you were going to do this and you didn't. So I'm encouraged.
Were there any other Northeast Ohio superintendents?
Jack is been very involved with Perry, and again, the problem with everybody's story is different, and that's the problem with the formula. Mike and I were just talking about that today. We're all impacted differently. They're impacted by the power plant and the reduction of the tangible personal property tax. And that has been projected and phased in for many years, and they keep fighting it. I had a conversation with Jack on Friday, and he said he's been working with Eklund's office on some of these amendments directly, and he is also a proponent of the hold harmless amendment. So it's getting it through the Republican leadership of the Senate to, push that agenda, because the Republican Party is the majority party right now down there. But I'm a little more encouraged than I was a few weeks ago.
Well, thanks for fighting for us.
So can't have, done what we did for 20, on May 2nd, and then have it all go by the wayside and not have a 5-year. That number in 2021 just looks so nice. So, I will double back on Mike's OSBA presentation. Our Clean Streaks presentation was also accepted, so we will be going down with some members of the Crossroads Community Church staff and talking about all the wonderful things we've done to build that community partnership with Clean Streaks, so it's really exciting. And then lastly in my report this evening, this is under the consent calendar, but we do have the technology plan that the Technology Committee has been working on pretty much since probably, I think we started seriously working on it in December and throughout the spring. And I have Emily here tonight too, who has been an active part of that committee and providing all sorts of input. And also, she has been the keeper of the Google Doc, which has made it very nice. She's been our secretary, keeping our notes. But I have to say, this was an awesome process of working with teachers, administrators, the technology staff in generating what we think are 3 good goals with action steps underneath. And if you look, one of the things that we really wanted to do too is to keep coming back to the strategic plan. So any other plan that happens with the, should be under the umbrella of our strategic plan. So we looked at and we connected back each of the goals to various goals within that strategic plan. So it's been a really wonderful process. Dave, Emily, do you want to add anything? Mike?
I'll add something. I think that one of the nice things about this plan is that there is built-in accountability, not only for administration, maintenance, technology, staff, teaching. It kind of goes across the board. We just really wanted to make sure that there was a lot of different avenues that people could take, so we're not creating this patterned path that everybody has to follow in order to make it work. We just wanted to make sure there's a lot of opportunity for people to go to different directions. So we have a variety of technology incorporated in the district. And I think that we did a nice job at least creating the generalization of what we want our district to go or head towards. I'm just going to implement.
Well, and I want to also give Joe credit back there, the man behind the camera, because he's also a part of the technology committee. So.
How much buy-in from the staff do you believe there is?
In what regards?
In the plan, in what we're doing, and where we're trying to go with that technology?
In my personal opinion, there's going to be a lot of buy-in for having a plan. The staff has not seen this yet. We have not sent the draft to the staff because we wanted to run it past you first. So we didn't create hopes or frustrations or any kind of opinion on that with the staff until it was kind of approved here. I think there's going to be some excitement in it, but also some apprehension just because of the learning curve up front. I think some people will have this fear that it has to be all at once and kind of at you very quickly. But I think the way we've structured it, it does pace it over time. So hopefully that'll alleviate some of those fears, and if not, the tech team I think would be a good avenue to try and alleviate those problems.
There's a lot of components to pulling this off, and it's been over a year since we voted to spend that sum of money to upgrade our system, and nothing ever happens as quickly as we'd like to see the results, and it's going to be a slow process, and developing this plan is just a part of that slow process, and we're hoping for good things, and we believe good things are on the way. It's just never as quick as it might seem to be.
Well, I think you've got people thinking about technology because there's more access to it now in a different way in the district. And I think that's the exciting part. And now it's getting people to use it in a different way so that it just doesn't become what I've said all along, and Emily's heard me say this, and Joe and Dave and Mike, another form of a textbook, but actually creating, and looking at it for problem solving and looking at it for collaboration and all sorts of different uses. Will there still be some of that teachers will use it to complete this worksheet and maybe not go versus printing it off, doing it in a Google form? Sure. We're still going to have some of those types of learning situations, but more and more learning is becoming a collaborative process, and that's, Dave's going to talk a little bit about core instruction, and that ties into a lot of the strategic plan and getting people to change the way they think about teaching and learning. And so I think
the key to the success of this plan is going to be follow through and support, is in my opinion, because if we don't follow through everybody on all the different levels, this is not going to be successful. It has, I think, really good potential to be, but it's also a matter of supporting each other, not just the tech team to staff, but on all different levels of helping it work across, instead of just little pockets, which is, I think, what our intent was to make it at least accessible on everybody's levels, no matter where they fall with technology. But I think it has some pretty good potential to do well.
I'm happy with the amount of time and the thoughtful process that it took to produce one sheet of paper here. But I mean, this is something that we have to revisit over and over and over again.
Yeah, it was a very fun process. We had some good meetings. So.
Just a simple question in terms of a catalog of internal experts. Who will be, some of this may be self-directed, but there will also be human resources available to, just facilitate the patient process of it, in case teachers get frustrated with this. And has that cost been accounted for?
We discussed a little bit about what that would look like, and I think initially the idea was that we have people within our district who do very well with certain aspects of technology or have had exposure to different seminars or conferences where we could utilize those people to help with professional development and train other staff members instead of having to seek outside of our district or pay for something. It's something we could use and work within that. And then the idea was that we would create, the tech team would create a sort of catalog of these experiences, not necessarily a how-to book, but different options of what's available, who those contacts would be, people that would be willing to even come talk to a department or to a building of some sorts, but just to get something started so that it's not just going in cold. We're not just saying, hey, we want you to use technology, but we're going to give you nothing to do it. But more of people that we're already familiar with. Every building has different people that have exposure and are using great things in their class. It's just not widely known throughout the district for whatever reason. So it's more of a starting point of having those touch points to people that already exist in our district.
How much do you interact with Bob and his staff?
Me personally, a lot.
Good. Because, I mean, we're collaborating with all these other districts, and they're probably going through the same sort of growing pains that we're going through. And Bob seems to be the center of the wheel, and he's not an educator, so he can't tell you how to use that technology to teach. He can tell you how to use technology.
Right. He does, he shares a lot of things with me that he gets through emails of, hey, here's an idea that would be great. He'll send them to me. I think that I'm probably not the norm in that case because I go to him quite a bit to ask him different questions of things he's heard about. But I'm not sure if people know that that outlet exists or that they're comfortable with that.
Or have you thought about the other districts that we're collaborating with and what the teachers there go through?
I talk to a lot of different districts, not through our district, but I communicate a whole bunch with other counties locally and beyond locally, simply just to get perspective on what they're working with.
Great.
Through conferences mostly, but.
Thank you.
And I think there was that conversation during one of the meetings about the other districts that we're involved with or even not involved with, sharing some of the ideas on how they're using technology.
And I think one of the things Bob said is that one of the districts, they have a very traditional approach to how they want to use it. They don't want to use it, they don't want to break down the walls quite as much as I think our district does, which is, a testimony to, I think, the people that we brought together on this committee and the teachers and their excitement and enthusiasm about using technology in a different way, which I think is really cool because I did look at some of their other plans and I think our plan is different in that it's not just talking about what equipment they have or that they're, what they're going to provide. Our plan is dynamic and
it is a very unique technology plan. In fact, I did some extensive research on technology plans within the state of Ohio, and I really didn't find any that incorporated anything beyond the hardware, software options and maintaining those and the financial aspects of it. And I think we really tried to incorporate more professional development and also curriculum aspects of it. Not that those other plans don't, but this was more direct. So I think it gives a little bit more clarity to staff that we're not just talking the hardware, software aspect of technology, that we're actually looking into supporting them with curriculum and professional development, which I think is always a fear that staff has, that we won't have time or money allotted to support that.
And I think that the big piece of that is that we were able to put the teacher-based teams in place this year so that can be a part of that ongoing professional development, which is really
And
kind of
everything
exciting.
in this plan also follows the contract.
Yes, it does. We worked very hard to make sure, because we would go, Emily, because she has many hats in this district, is this going to get us agreements?
And we need to remember, curriculum drives technology, not technology driving curriculum. And from the first meeting, it was, tell the tech guys what you want to do and let them figure out the technology to do it. Not, here's the technology we have available, how do we best use it? It's,
And that's how Bob put it. He
Right,
said, you
it's-
know, we've got equipment, but we need the plan.
right, well, this is, and I've looked at the other districts' plans, and it's more of, hey, here's our replacement cycle for Chromebooks.
Right.
This is, here's what we want to do with it. Let's figure out the technology over the life cycle to make it happen.
And that's great. That's what we hoped for.
Right.
I think this was well written, and I like that it's 3 points.
Hey, we took a lot off of how we did our strategic plan, which
Yeah.
you sat in that committee.
Yeah.
So, you know, keeping it limited goals with a few things underneath it. Because at some meetings we said, oh, we could get this really unwieldy and then nobody's going to do anything with it. But this is very manageable and doable.
Made great strides in the last year to two in this area,
Absolutely.
really.
Is there any way to track our progress through the process? You know,
As far as going forward,
like, yeah, like a year from now, where do we expect to be, or 2 years from now?
Well, I think each of these things, we were very careful about making things measurable.
oh,
So,
absolutely.
so there are things that definitely will show. So for example, with professional development, we're going to make sure that, you know, staff does the 4 self-selected technology professional developments, and LPDC will help to be that resource to keep track of that.
It's a very circular and collaborative motion, so it's not just the tech team, but it is LPDC, DLMC, DLT. If you look at each of those points, you know, the catalog of experts, that's a tangible source that is the responsibility of the tech team to come up with and be accountable for. Same with the
Actually
second one.
DLT, I think, because we're going to be doing all professional development through that DLT.
Right, but as far
Right.
as,
So,
yeah. But the tracking, all of those, there's something very tangible that
yep.
needs to be produced in order to see follow through. I know that's one of my biggest things is
It is.
accountability, is to show not only the staff, but that we don't just come up with a pretty sheet of paper that looks good and sounds good, but we have to follow through, because if we can say, if any staff member doubts it or questions it or has a question, we can say, well, look what we've done. Here's what we kind of put in place as the plan that we want to have. Here's us holding ourselves accountable for doing it. So everything is measurable throughout the whole thing. There's nothing subjective, I guess you could say.
Right.
Great.
Thanks, Emily.
No, I mean, thanks to the committee and holding people accountable and having those honest conversations, which I think it was some of the, other than the levy committee, I think it was one of the highlights of my year, was coming together for these meetings.
Well, if that would have gone on for a few more minutes, all of my points would have been checked off.
Hey.
So I'll be brief today.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
just
Tomorrow
double check.
morning, our district leadership team is getting together for a kind of end of the year wrap up, 3 hours, 9 to noon. And some of the big things that we're going to hit on, a few of our accomplishments from this past year. Was already mentioned the teaming structure that was put into place, the teacher-based teams, the building leadership team, district leadership team. All structures are in place and vehicles now for a lot of things to happen going forward, and that's our conversation tomorrow. Those 3 levels of teams, they're off the ground, but we need to continue to work to get them better and better and strive for continuous improvement in those areas. Some big curriculum. Our district leadership team looks at the portion of the strategic plan on curriculum and instruction. That's the focus of that particular team. So the things I'm talking about really pertain to that one part of the strategic plan. Some accomplishments: curriculum maps and pacing guides were created for social studies for the Ohio Standards for K to 5. So that was exciting. Last year we did the same process with English Language Arts teachers K to 5, and we brought those teams back in this year to look at how's it going. You know, what do we want to add to this? So we've added some things to those maps, like resources that folks might use that are vetted, that are really good things that teachers have found that help them to access the standards. In some cases, some assessments have been included in that, and that process will continue year after year so that these maps not only become more and more useful, but become better and better.
It's only been a year, Dave, but have you seen the result that you hoped for?
Well, we don't have state tests back.
I just mean from the teachers and the feedback and the...
What I would say that we found were a mixed bag. You know, some teams said that this is great because it guides our work and we're able to plow through it, and others said, this isn't right at all. So some of those tough conversations, okay, if it's not right, what makes it a problem to work through? And that's really part of our first draft of it, and as we've said all along, we're going to put this down and we're going to live it, and then we're going to come back and adjust, and we'll do the same thing.
Like I said, it's just been 1 year, so I was just...
I'm always a little more probably critical, just because I want to continue to... So I've heard a lot of very positive feedback, and I've also heard some folks saying, this part here isn't working, we need to fix that. So we'll continue to do that. So that's the curriculum and instruction. I would say accomplishments for the 16-17 year. Things we're going to look at tomorrow going forward. So the strategic plan says, and I'll read a couple of these, we need to explore different methods of engaging and challenging learning. We need to provide real-world projects and experiences that are designed to help prepare students for the future. We need to create a safety net so that students don't fall through the cracks in pre-K through 12. All of these things can be addressed, I think, at first in our core instruction. And so one of the long conversations that's going to occur in our leadership team tomorrow is, what does good instruction look like? What do we want it to look like in Madison? What are the key elements that we should see in any class we go into, whether it's preschool down the hall or a 12th grade AP chemistry class, maybe taught by one of these folks? What are some of the, what are some key components of good instruction, and what do we want to see in Madison? And so we talk about, wanting to get these things in place and get in. There's so many things pulling at our limited time. So we're looking at, okay, landing on what we think good instruction looks like, creating a plan to support that and to provide professional development for our teachers, and incorporating all of the things we're doing like technology. Utilizing this structure of teaming to be able to get teams working together on this process, to bring in support, professional development during the school day without having to find funds to fund it after school. So those are some really big instructions or conversations, I guess, that are going to occur tomorrow, and we're hoping to develop our subcommittee that's going to put together a professional development plan that's going to incorporate all of this, along with some self-selected professional development that the teachers can work on their own identified needs. So, lots of big ideas, but we've tried to chip away at, we've got a structure now where we can start to get some of these things rolling, and we're going to try to continue down that path and create ourselves a five-year plan for how we want to get to that world of Madison that we talked about in developing the strategic plan, where there are no barriers, and in a perfect world, Madison schools look like this. Yeah. Well, let's see what we can do to get there. Yeah. Questions for me?
The Transportation Center, do we anticipate that moving along here over the summer?
Yeah. Actually, right now we are in the process, it's been in heavy usage throughout the school year. We're in the process of taking some of the older buses that are no longer in use and moving them out of there, bringing the fleet over, so that should happen. And I was actually on the phone with CBS today talking about when that might happen. Working on the parking plan. We have a plan, but we need to get the buses in there and make sure that what we think is going to work will work. Once that happens, we can stripe it all and they'll be there permanently. The move of the CBS offices will take a day, and so we're not worried about that. We need to get a radio tower moved. But all in all, it'll happen over the course of the summer. Probably the biggest thing is the moving of the fuel tank, which can't happen until we get I guess somebody needs to kind of come and inspect the site where it's going to move, and then we need to move it, and then they need to come and inspect it and make sure that it's okay for use, which is really why we waited till summer, because if we got that tank moved and got the buses down there and then someone said, you can't use that until you fix this, we might have been without fuel for two weeks or a month, and that would have...
Going to cause some problems, yes.
Yeah.
And our inspections are, what, towards the end of July, right?
Yeah, we've had some earlier.
inspections.
Yeah, well, we've
And
actually
then-
got some, I think 9 of our buses right now are stickered, which is well ahead of where we usually are at this time, so,
Because
in
we've
July.
done what we have been able to do to upgrade the fleet a little bit, and that's helped, so.
So once that's complete, then what happens with parking behind the middle school that we talked about there?
Open for discussion.
That would
Okay.
be, yeah, we would be able to use that for event parking and that type of thing,
Mhm.
All right.
which will make it a lot nicer when the middle school has events, like the honors breakfast on, yeah. Honors breakfast, what, on Thursday morning, and the lot was a little full,
Staff meetings.
yeah.
Conferences.
So, we'll probably not take the gate away or anything like that, because it won't be used all the time, you know, it won't be a daily thing, but, you know, we do have that access, which would be good. All right.
Anything else, Dave?
I think that's it. So, I'm going to allow the people that have given up their Tuesday evening, if that's okay. I'm sure they have more exciting things to do than listen to a full agenda.
Because we're losing the crowd here.
Thank you for
Thank you, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, welcome. Welcome. So the reports from the administrative team have concluded. Okay,
Yes.
so the next agenda item is the salary increase of the superintendent and treasurer. I'll point out that earlier in the year, we negotiated labor contracts with our various bargaining units and settled on a 1% cost of living adjustment across the board for all of those contracts. So now we are applying the same increase in compensation for the superintendent and the treasurer, which is a 1% increase, and then obviously modifying the contracts that we have with those staff members. I personally want to say I'm very happy with our superintendent and our treasurer, and I appreciate all the work that you put in and all the extra personal time that you put in on getting this levy passed, as well as just the general performance throughout the year. This is not a merit raise, this is simply a cost of living adjustment for those contracts. Do we have a motion to, do we need to do these separate, Mike, both of them?
Yes, each one separate.
All right, so do we have a motion to approve the increase for the superintendent?
I'll move.
And I'll second.
Any discussion?
I just note that these are the last of the raises that, you know, throughout the year, that after the contract and everything was signed, these are the last of the raises to be given out, so, you know, it says something that, you know, you waited till everybody else came first, and now you're getting, yours 1%.
We wish it could be more, but we're very happy to have you leading us.
Roll call?
Larry Armstrong?
Yes.
Sean Douglas?
Yes.
Michael Howery?
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
We have a motion to approve an increase in compensation for the treasurer.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Thank you, Mike, for all that you do, and
Welcome.
everything in the levy campaign. Those numbers were indisputable, so I think it helped a lot.
And I will say amen.
On that note, we'll roll call.
Sean Douglas?
Yes.
Michael Howery?
Yes.
Larry Armstrong?
Yes.
Vote is 3-0. Thank you.
Yes,
Recommendations of the superintendent.
thank you. All right, I guess I should get some water, because it's a long one tonight. First is the personnel motion, and we have all sorts of things going on in that. The first is accepting the following resignation of Pam Davis-Guerra, the ELL Program Educational Assistant, effective June 30th, 2017. We're asking you to enter into the following employment contracts to employ Tim Pyra as a science teacher for Madison High School under a one-year limited contract effective the 2017-18 school year, to employ Jennifer Offmuth as a science teacher for Madison High School under a one-year limited contract effective 2017-2018 contract year, to employ Catherine Civila Bowman as an intervention specialist at Madison Middle School under a one-year limited contract effective 2017-18 contract year, to employ Javette Hilton under a two-year supervisory administrator contract as pre-K director literacy coordinator effective August 1st, 2017 through July 31st, 2019, and it'll be a 220-day contract. The following certificated personnel under a one-year limited supplemental contract for the 16-17 school year: Greg Clark as MMS Science Club Co-Advisor and Lee Poser as MMS Science Club Co-Advisor. The following persons, each as casual day-to-day substitutes: Matthew Rhodes, Ben Reed, and Josh Sanzalone. The support staff listed in Appendix A, each under a two-year limited contract in the position and rate of compensation as noted, effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2019. The support staff listed in Support staff listed in Appendix B under a new continuing contract in the position and rate of compensation as noted, effective July 1st, 2017. The following non-certificated person under a one-year personal service contract for the 2017-18 school year: Leslie Smith, MHS head volleyball coach. And the board is authorizing the annual salary notices to be sent as follows: to authorize and direct the treasurer to send annual salary notice for the 2017-18 contract year by June 30th, 2017 to all support staff currently employed under a continuing contract as listed in Appendix C, all support staff currently employed under a two-year limited contract as listed in Appendix D, and all certificated and non-certificated administrative and supervisory personnel, including the treasurer and all board office and other school district personnel who are not members of a collective bargaining unit as found in Appendix E, and to authorize and direct the treasurer to include in the fiscal year 18 appropriations sufficient amounts to meet the combined value of all annual salary notices issued under the authority of this motion in its entirety. And then we are asking you to approve the following transfers: to transfer Diana Miller from a 3-hour food service cashier position at Madison Middle School to an 8-hour custodian position at Madison High School effective June 1st, 2017. To transfer Jackie Strumbly from an 8-hour custodian position at Madison High School to a 4-hour custodian position at Madison Middle School and a 4-hour custodian position at South Elementary School effective June 1st, 2017.
I'll move. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call?
Michael Howry?
Yes.
Larry Armstrong?
Yes.
Sean Douglas?
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
All right. The next, and for brevity, I'm just going to read the first set of motions. And I think that, oh, I guess I got to do it. She didn't do it the way I thought she wanted to do it. That's okay. To approve the agreement for the technology personal services between the Madison Local School District and Berkshire Local School District for the period July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. And then to approve the supplemental contracts for Bob, Anthony, and Ashley under that, and Andrew, under that contract with Berkshire. Then, that's how I'm going to do it, because it's way too much reading otherwise. Then to approve the agreement for technology personal services between Madison Local School District and Newberry Local School District for the period July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. And then to approve the supplemental contracts for Bob Cerruti, Anthony Slepko, Ashley Medwig, and Andrew Gribas under that agreement with Newberry. And then to approve the agreement for technology personal services between the Madison Local School District and Fairport Harbor Exempted Village School District for the period July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. And then to approve the supplemental contracts for Bob Cerruti, Anthony Slepko, Ashley Medwick and Andrew Gregors under that same agreement.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Discussion?
We haven't changed.
What, does other districts pay us? Have
No.
I don't know.
We haven't increased the amount we charge nor the supplementals associated with those agreements.
Roll call?
Larry Armstrong?
Yes.
Sean Douglas?
Yes.
Michael Howery?
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
All right. And then we are asking you to approve a 63-month lease and managed print services agreement with ComDoc at a cost of $4,897 per month, with the lease term to begin July 1st, 2017, and end September 30th, 2021.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Discussion?
And that's something we just re-examined?
Yeah, yes. And much to the surprise, I think, of the teachers, there'll be some new copiers in the district when school starts at the beginning of the year. When you get to the last year of a copy contract, and you know the guy by face and name who's repairing them, you know it's time to do something. And with the shared services that we have going on with all the other districts and the connections with ComDoc, we were able to negotiate something a year early and get some new machines. So it's very exciting, and it's also a savings overall to the district of at least $500 a month. However, if we manage our copy costs and how we use those machines, yeah, well, we've got something. Yeah, we've got that as an option. We can even save more. So
Great.
it's pretty good.
First time the copiers have been replaced since we passed the levy last time, 28 years ago.
No, we do go through those every 5 years. We wear them down.
Is there a motion for the agreement?
I think we have one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went into discussion then. Okay, roll call.
Sean Douglas?
Yes.
Michael Howery?
Yes.
Larry Armstrong?
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
All right, I have quite a few resolutions tonight, lots to celebrate. The first is, I have recommended that the board put a resolution for Bob Dyack, whereas Bob Dyack accepted the job as the volunteer chairman of the Madison School Levy Committee for the May 2nd, 2017 campaign, and he proved to be a very dedicated chairman, sharing his many talents and countless hours of hard work with the committee, which resulted in the passage of issue 2 of 4.99 mil levy for the Madison School District, which is the first new operating money for the district in 28 years. And the next one is a resolution for the levy committee, and each of the levy committee members will get a copy of this resolution, also congratulating them on their work. And then we have Mark Vidmer's retirement resolution, who actually retires. Tomorrow is his last official day as an employee of the Madison local schools, and he has been a teacher with us for the past 29 years. And then a resolution recognizing the Madison High School girls softball team as 2017 district championships with their 18-4 record. And they played against North Canton Hoover in a Division I regional semifinal, which we know it was a tough loss, but good job to them. And then the resolution authorizing us to be a part of the Ohio High School Athletic Association, which is an annual resolution.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Discussion? I really thank Bob Dyack for his work on that levy.
Amen.
I'd love to see us send a copy of that resolution to Dick Bennett at the YMCA, just so he can see all the efforts that he's putting in the community.
Absolutely. Because that was one of the first things when, I called him and asked if he was able to chair. He had to check and see.
Right.
And they were he said, not a problem. So he was a great person to work with.
Roll call?
Michael Howery?
Yes.
Larry Armstrong?
Yes.
Sean Douglas?
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
All right, and we have our semi-annual board policy update. So you will be getting the full policies versus trying to not kill so many trees emailed to you this week. Susan will scan and email them, but this is the overview of the changes in each of the policies. And it starts with district-sponsored clubs and activities and ends with equivalent education outside the schools and participation in extracurricular activities for students not enrolled in the district. And that's just the first reading. So you don't have to take any action, but we'll be bringing them forward at the June meeting. So if you have questions about any of the policies, once you have the electronic copies, feel free to call me. And then we have, of course, because everything was long tonight, quite a lengthy consent calendar this evening. The first item in the consent calendar is to enter into a field site affiliation agreement with Madison Local School District and Walden University for the 17-18 school year, to enter into agreement with the Lake Geauga Educational Assistance Foundation effective the 2017-18 school year, to approve the inter-district service agreement between the Madison Local Schools and the Lake County Educational Service Center for the 2018 school year per the conditions and terms as found on file in the board office, to approve the following contracts between Madison Local School Districts and the agencies listed below to provide ESY summer services, re-education, and CARES, to approve a basketball camp for Madison students from May 30th, 2017 through June 2nd, 2017 at a cost of $70 per participant, to approve a boys basketball Perry Summer League at a cost of $20 per player, with the remainder being donated by the Backboard Club, to approve the girls basketball Ashland University shootout on June 21st, 2017 at no cost to the players, to approve the boys soccer camp at Edinburgh University from July 24th, 2017 to July 27th, 2017 at a cost of $345 per student, to approve an out-of-state trip for Madison High School wrestlers to Las Vegas, California tournament from the June 12th, 2017 through June 22nd, 2017 at a cost of $210 per student, to approve the tuition, transportation aids, occupational therapy, and speech therapy contracts between the Madison Local School District and Re-Education Services for the 2017-18 school year, to approve a 3-year team agreement with Adidas America beginning July 1st, 2017 and ending June 30th, 2020, to approve Emily Marachek as a volunteer coach for the Madison High School dance team, to approve an agreement between the Madison Local School District and Safely Home School to provide educational services to a Madison High School student beginning April 28th, 2017, to approve an agreement between the Madison Local Schools and Lakeland Community College to provide community nursing experience to nursing students beginning August 1st, 2017 through July 31st, 2020, to approve the programs listed below and as found on file in the board office, each is an educational option of independent study, and to approve the participation of Madison High School students below under their respective approved program effective 2016-17 school year, the STEM robotics program beginning with Rio Kaya and ending with Isaac Warren under cooperating teacher Dean Wad, current events Daniel O'Donnell under cooperating teacher John Whiteman. And then to approve an enrichment trip for Madison High School students travel to Ireland, Edinburgh, and London during the summer of 2018, accompanied by their chaperone Julie Baca, pursuant to Board Policy 2340, and to authorize that all students' participation fees will be imposed on participating students, pursuant to Board Policy 6152, and to authorize entering into agreement with Educational Tours as a student travel company based in Cambridge, Massachusetts, to provide carry-on related services for the trip, subject to the limitations of ORC 3301. In acting on behalf of the board, the superintendent or designee shall condition signature on any agreement upon the availability of funds for the trip from sources other than the school district's general fund, and final approval for the trip as demonstrated by interest by a reasonable number of participating elected students. And then to finally approve the technology plan as we presented this evening.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Discussion?
A lot of sports camps on the consent calendar. Any football camp talk yet? Or?
They are not going anywhere. Anything they do, they're going to do here in Madison.
I think it's nice that the kids who work so hard with those robotics are able to get some credit for that.
Yes.
Yes.
I know they put in a lot of time. So,
Yes, they do.
and they were very successful.
And so we wanted to we talked about this at the end of last year and said, yeah, they put in as much time as any course, and it's such an authentic experience.
Is Mrs. Vaca's chaperone trip the first? Have we done that before?
Years ago, I think there were some teachers that did some overseas travel. And so she had an opportunity because her sister also teaches in Ashtabula, I think. And so they were sort of coordinating it together. Her sister asked her to be a part of it, so it's, good opportunity for our students if they choose to take it. I know there's some staff are very interested, and she's had a lot of questions.
Roll call?
Larry Armstrong?
Yes.
Sean Douglas?
Yes.
Michael Howery?
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.
We're now moving into the second public participation. If you'd like to address the board, if you could please stand and state your address. All right, do we have a need for executive session?
Not tonight.
Is there a motion for adjournment?
I'll move. I'll second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Sean Douglas?
Yes.
Michael Howery?
Yes.
Larry Armstrong?
Yes.
Vote is 3-0.